Hello, everyone, and welcome to the show. I updated my OBS, and I could not find the unmute button very fast. I am your host, Will Crosby. Welcome to Local Chat. Please give a warm and wonderful welcome while I get rid of this extremely loud music to our special guest this week, Frost. Frost, how is it going?
It goes, man. It goes. I just got done with, I watched Romulus this morning. My ears are still ringing. Ears are still ringing. I think they could have balanced the audio a bit in that theater I was in, but yeah, what an experience.
Alien Romulus. I was very confused because I finished Star Trek The Next Generation today, and I was like, there's a new Romulan movie? I'm very excited for that.
I can just never catch up with all this content churn.
Yeah.
There's too much of it now.
Ian Gibson is also here as always. I should honestly not even introduce you anymore because at this point, it's disgusting. You're still here.
Yeah, but then I don't get to talk about what I watched this morning, which is the hit 1990s TV show Homicide: Life on the Street. Shout out to that show. It's basically a precursor to The Wire in a way, and it is very good and pretty depressing.
Damn.
It's a good way to start the morning.
Yeah.
What else are you gonna do? Yeah, I had like 9 episodes left of The Next Generation that I started watching. I think after I got laid off, I just started watching it. It might have been before. But then I was like, I put off these 9 episodes because the next episode I had to watch was the worst rated Star Trek The Next Generation episode at a 4.5. But most people, I was reading, it's actually not that bad of an episode, but it's about a woman. So it's rated horribly. It's all about Beverly Crusher. Genuinely not a bad episode.
But she's a good character though. At least it's not Tasha Yar from the first season. Who's the worst.
You know what her upbringing was like? Because I do.
God, dude.
Sorry, Tasha Yar. I don't know if do you know anything about Star Trek, Frost?
I've taken some in because of working alongside Darren Mooney, who's written a massive book on Star Trek signed by, I want to say it was who was it, Taika Waititi? I think he wrote the forward for him. Yeah, no, Darren is his biggest Star Trek fan that I've ever met. And I take some through osmosis, but not much. I was more Star Wars than Star Trek. And even then, I'm not the biggest sci-fi guy, I gotta say.
Really?
Space doesn't appeal to me, no, but the ocean, that's what I'm for. There's creepier stuff in the water, for sure.
All about that Jacques Cousteau.
Man, I had been meaning to tell Jake, but Jake's away. Well, I was away, and then Jake is away now. But I got super into Jacques Cousteau stuff. I forget how it happened. I could probably remember the VHSs and all that sort of stuff. And then I was just like, let me watch the Silent World documentary that he originally made, and that one's pretty good, except there's like things they do to the animals that you're like, you shouldn't like ride on tortoises because it's probably killing them. You shouldn't. They just
like great TV.
They just go on like a shark murdering spree at one point because like divers hate sharks, and it's just like, ooh.
Now it's time for revenge.
But I was getting super into underwater stuff, and I was watching the show from the 60s and 70s. Genuinely a good show because it's like time progresses in it, and it's just like a weird documentary show of them going all over the world in like 4 years. Yeah, it's very strange. Sorry, not to get sidetracked. Anyways, Tasha Yar, where were we? Terrible upbringing, all that sort of stuff. I am, for folks who don't know, I was away for 2 weeks. We didn't have any episodes, definitely not any episodes hosted by Ian. They didn't happen. We don't have this podcast without me, so you made up whatever you listened to. I was in the great state of Italy, over in the European area. We annexed them, or annexed them. It said either way, and I don't care.
You showed up, they left? Is that what?
Yeah,
okay.
Exactly. So I was over in Italy. Ian warned me how hot it was going to be there. It was probably the hottest place on the planet Earth I've ever been to in my entire life. Despite that, it wasn't that bad. I sweat a lot, but you just got used to the heat within like a day.
That's good.
Also, Rome at 104 degrees Celsius, no, Fahrenheit. Rome thankfully has these fountains all over the place that you can fill your water bottles up at because they like relieve pressure from the water mains. there. And actually, one of the ladies told me, I don't know if it's true anymore, but at the height of Rome, which was like 1 million people living in Rome or something like that. Sorry, in the Roman Empire, they had like water to feed for like 20 million people. Like that's how much water they piped back in. So anyways, it wasn't too bad. Rome was hot. I saw the Colosseum, which was cool. I didn't go to like the Pantheon, but our hotel was right next to the Circus Maximus, which isn't really dolled up at all. It's just like a giant, empty, sandy parking lot, but not parking lot. And we walked past that a couple times, which was neat. My main takeaway is cafes where you can just walk up at like a bar and order a coffee and then like go pay for it afterwards are great. Italian people are nice and no one gets mad at you when you don't know how to drive a Vespa and then you later crash the Vespa. People don't yell at you that much, and then a nice couple sees you struggling with a Vespa and they drive the Vespa back to the place for you, because
oh my god,
we thought we were renting like Roman holiday Vespas, but this was like a motorcycle Vespa and it was scary, and thankfully no one got hurt other than my leg touched the muffler, and that really hurt.
Yeah, that's hot.
The complete Italian experience.
Yeah, the complete Italian experience. Lots of pasta, which was delicious. Lots of pizza. And, you know, it was a fun trip. I enjoyed it. I would like to go back to Italy with just my wife and not the rest of her family. And I think the entire rest of her family also agrees, because there were some explosive days. Never me, because I'm perfect. And I said on this trip, I'm never complaining. I ate everything. I like tomatoes now, but only tomatoes from Italy, because I had a tomato here when I got back and it was terrible. So
they got the San Marzanos, like the actual ones.
Yeah.
Like I have to go to a special place to get them, and they've got the official stamps on the back of them.
That's great. It was crazy. I was just like wolfing down tomatoes. I was like, this is a weird alternate reality, Will. But yeah, overall it was fun. I enjoyed it. Ian, I know you went there earlier when it was cooler, I believe, earlier this year.
Yeah, I was there in April when it was in the 70s Fahrenheit.
Towards the end of the trip, Milan was in the 70s, which was nice. And then we just lime scootered all around that city because it's fun and lime scooters are cheap. So that was kind of nice towards the end. So basically started boiling and then ended at a reasonable temperature. And thankfully in New Jersey now, it's like in the 70s and not 90s when we left, which was awful. Nice. I did watch several movies on the flights. The flight there, I watched good old Fury Road because it was on the plane. They also, the thing I made fun of them for, they had the middle Hobbit movie, which is great. Happy you have that one.
Only that one?
Yeah, only the middle Hobbit movie. Damn. They had the 4th Harry Potter film, and they had the 7th part 1, part 2 Harry Potter films. And then
see that kind of makes sense, because the 7th is the most recent, and I bet 4th is the most popular.
It's gotta be right. Like I feel like they started with the whole catalog, and then over time it was like, we must cut costs.
I would have taken one
only leave the popular one.
But the middle of what is basically one movie split into 3 parts is wild.
I know, right? I couldn't believe it.
That's crazy.
And they had both Happy Feet, because I guess you need to know what happens in both the Happy Feet.
George Romero, they got Fury Road. They might as well throw in both.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. They got
not a deal. Not George Romero.
No, it's George
Miller.
George Romero's Happy Feet would be incredible.
No, that's Sad Feet. That's Dead Feet. Dead Feet 1 and 2.
Yeah, and just Feet is Tarantino.
I would be extra pissed in that situation, because I feel like, so I saw the Hobbit movies when they were in theaters. I even saw the high frame rate of the first one, and I hated them. But I'm ready for a rewatch, and if I was stuck on a plane and I saw those movies, I'd be like, perfect time. Let's watch all fucking 3 of them. Let's do this.
I have two separate cuts of The Hobbit as one film on my Plex, and I need they're the cuts people swear by, and I did a bunch of research, and both of them people swear by. So I'm like, I need to watch both of these to figure out which one I want to watch, and I haven't done it yet because they're both 4.5 hours, and it's a nightmare. On my flight back, I watched Godzilla X Kong, which is the latest one.
Ooh, how was that?
That movie is so stupid it's good.
That's good to hear, because that's the American Godzilla now is so stupid it's good, and the Japanese Godzilla is so emotional it makes you cry. And they're both
so
killing
sincere, isn't it? Yeah, it's so sincere.
It is edited by not a millennial, Gen Z. It is so cut. Like we're cooking, and constant. It also features, and this will be important, features a giant wave about to crash into like Rio de Janeiro, and then it freezes. The whole wave freezes.
Whoa!
And there's like all the people like turn ice and everything. But the other thing with that movie, other than it being so stupid it's good, is it with the cutting, they like do the thing where it's like, oh, we need something right now. And so then this character's like, okay, let me get in this spaceship that we have for some reason in this universe inside hollow Earth. They go even hollower in this movie.
Yes.
And like the guy they've been walking for like 3 hours. He somehow walks back to the ship, flies the ship to the base that's really far away, picks up a weapon for King Kong to use, flies it back, lands and attaches it, and all the other characters are still in their exact same spots where they were 2 seconds before. It's just like we don't care. We're just going. He needs this arm thing right now. We just sent the guy through the teleporter to get the arm. It is very stupid.
Sounds amazing.
After that, I watched Geostorm with Gerard Butler and the guy from Across the Universe. That movie is so bad that I rewatched Fury Road because the guy in the row in front of me was watching Fury Road. So I just watched it again. That movie talks the talk of like, we're going to be like the day after tomorrow, like Geostorm. Yeah. None of that. Like zero of that. It is like barely in that movie at all. It is an awful movie, but also features a frozen wave about to hit Rio de Janeiro. And I just thought that was weird. I chose 2 movies on that flight.
Well, it was the same wave.
Well, yeah, they filmed it from different angles.
Same wave, yeah. Is the second Hobbit the one with the river? I feel like I'm sensing a trend here.
Oh, Lake Town. Oh no, I think you're right. I think you are
barrels,
right.
The river with the barrels in the river. Yeah, I'm sensing a trend here.
That's the second one. Yeah.
And then Karen and I both watched Crazy Rich Asians, which is a genuinely good movie, and I really enjoyed it.
That's a good movie.
And I almost broke 2 of my fingers trying not to cry on an airplane.
Because of Crazy Rich Asians?
Yeah, because I was bending them so hard to like hurt and not want to cry. I get very emotional.
I was crying in the movie theater.
Yeah, I was. It was like Bow all over again, man. And then I watched about 3/4 of Guy Ritchie's Sherlock Holmes, which I have a soft spot for because I really like that.
My
soundtrack.
favorite.
Great movie. Yeah, and then I landed back in good old East Coast, here on the Beast Coast. It's the best, and that's my life. That was my Italy trip. Thank you for listening. We can move on now.
Did you look? I don't care about where you went. I don't care about what movies you saw. I only care about travel games. What did you play during this big trip?
During this big trip, we had a Pokemon tournament right before this big trip, and then I said to myself, what's on my 3DS? And in March of 2022, I had somehow started Pokemon Omega Ruby, which is the remaster of Ruby, and I just continued playing that, and I didn't play it on either of my flights, because the first flight I did that movie and then fell asleep, and the flight home I just watched movies and read a book. But I did play it on the train rides in Italy. I played Omega Ruby, and boy, is that game freaking fantastic. It just feels good. It has the same kind of nostalgia of playing original Ruby, which I played a little bit of when I was a kid, and I had no idea what it was. But it has all like the modern stuff with it. So like when the XP shares with your entire crew.
God bless.
Which is nice. I picked up some good. I should have had my 3DS with you so I could show some stuff off, but maybe I'll move the save off of it and do a stream. But it was really fun. I like that. I'm pretty far. I actually downloaded the guide for it and the Pokedex book ebooks onto my phone because I was
in case.
Bulbapedia has an offline mode in the app, but when you try to switch it to offline, it says you need to be pro Bulbapedia, whatever, to, like, you need the pro version to be offline, but there is no pro. You can't pay for a pro version.
Oh, you're anti. Gotcha.
Yeah. There's just no like way to pay for it. So I'm like, is this a feature you want to implement? And you're just pretending I can do this. So I ended up getting this other Pokedex app and then just getting the ebooks, and it's good. I learned a lot from that Pokemon tournament, like how Pokemon works. So I've been.
That's good.
Yeah, it's good to know.
Good thing learned in the tournament.
Yeah, I do the sexy thing of just 4 attacks, no stats, no just.
I realize now that like moves have types as well, which is really cool, and that some things can't hit ghosts. So it's just, it's been a blast. I also try not to do. Jason used to make fun of me that the guy you pick at the beginning is always like the highest leveled. So now I make sure in every Pokemon game I play, I just ditch that loser immediately, and make sure he's not the most over leveled piece of shit in my crew. So, Pokemon Omega Ruby. What do you want to say to me?
Look, I've got a question for you. I don't mean to get you in trouble with your wife, but did you take your Nintendo Switch on the trip?
I did not take my Nintendo Switch on this trip. Karen took my Nintendo Switch on this trip because she was playing SteamWorld Heist 2, which came out the day we flew away.
That's the right answer, because I was worried. I was worried that you hadn't realized that, and she would be upset if she found out that she could have been playing that the entire trip.
I had been telling her, and then the night before, I was like, Karen, I'm bringing my 3DS. Do you want to bring the Switch? She's like, no, not really. I was like, SteamWorld Heist 2 comes out tomorrow. I can download it for you. And she's like, oh, yes, bring it. So she's been playing that. She's actually, her parents are still away right now. They had like an extra leg. So she's at their house watching their dog, and she brought the Switch over there, and she's been playing a ton of SteamWorld Heist 2. From what I can tell, it's pretty good, but I have not seen it at all.
I've heard that too, yeah. So I'm thinking about picking it up at some point.
Yeah, so I'm excited for that. The other game I've been playing this week is Mini Settlers, which is a video game that came out, I think, the day I left. And it is sort of like, it kind of looks like that Master Plan Tycoon game that we played a while ago, Ian. Frost, I see you're familiar with that. It's not the same developer, but it might be the same publisher, because I think they had a thing for selling both of them.
Okay, gotcha.
It looks really cool. It's got this sort of campaign where you're not just doing one like town like a RimWorld or something like that. You are going through levels and hitting population goals. Sort of like, I guess, Roller Coaster Tycoon would be my thing for like the different parks. It looks really neat. It is very basic top down. You are setting your different, like, here's an apple orchard, putting a well on the water, and then the roads between it can only go a certain length, and they have nodes on them, and then workers on one road, a worker goes from A end to B end, or B end to A end, passing resources between themselves. And then you can build like a city center, and that lets you build a certain number of houses. And houses all need apples and water and all this sort of stuff.
This looks good.
It looks really good. It plays pretty well, but I hate it, and I refunded it because it gets to the point.
So well.
It's just the most frustrating game I've ever played.
What's frustrating?
It felt like an A pass, and it is in early access, but it just like nothing. Like, I put the city center down, and so the city center has a node on one side of it, and then all the houses have a node on one specific side of it. So there's like not a nice way to properly arrange the houses in that city center to like do good node lines. And then if you accidentally like place a node too close to another road, you can't cross over them, and you can't connect a node to it. And then you just get in these situations where the like characters it's those one worker per like between two nodes, so they're just passing the same stuff. They're not really prioritizing, and I got to the point where they started giving out filters, but I'm like, at this point I don't even like getting one item from A to B. Like, don't make me have to filter it out to do this other thing. And there was, and in the tutorial, it got to the point where it's like, okay, here's a water warehouse. So I kind of made it so the water goes to the warehouse first, and then branching off the warehouse goes to different places. But then when I got to level 2, I start all the way back at the beginning of the tree again. So it's not like I have warehouses now. I have to build my shitty city to then want to upgrade to the next one. But then at that point, I have to delete nodes. I have to redo a bunch of stuff. So it's like, I saw some of the reviews being like, oh, it's fun to play a level and then get it to its like most minimal, tiny version it can be. And I'm like, I can see the fun in that, but I either want to play one really long game of this, or I want to do puzzle levels that go back and forth a little bit better. So it looks neat. It's really cool. I think there's a demo for it as well, which I should have tried. But Mini Settlers, if you like the types of games that I like that, it may be fun for a little bit. And if you like the more puzzly aspects of them, I think it could be for you. But I would let it bake for a little bit longer. It just came out in early access, so give it a little bit longer. But that is
this publisher, IndieArc, they actually seem to be attached to a lot of really good ones, like Backpack Hero, Peglin, Mini Shoot Adventures. I just played. Imagine that's like Galaga, but the original Legend of Zelda, right? Necro Bouncer. Yeah, like they've attached themselves to a lot of these really tiny, intimate genres.
Yeah,
interesting.
That's interesting.
Not to throw shade on Mini Settlers, but this developer has also made a game called Run Build Pew, which looks like it's basically similar art style. It's top down. You're running around with the spaceship, but it's a roguelite. So you're finding parts, and then you would click those parts onto your spaceship to add shields and more guns and stuff. That looks cool as well. Run Build Pew. I'll have to try that out. $2.99. I'm gonna buy it.
And that made me think, like you saying, like they're this. I feel like they're next, either the final version of this or they're like, I like the way their game design brain works, like because looking at it visually and how that, like, it's a neat mechanic doing that kind of node based passing back and forth thing, and it just makes me want to be like, your next game I think I'm on board for, like when you announce like that sort of thing. So
these look made by like software engineers. This is interesting.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
Like Zachtronics games.
Settlers. Yeah, very like people who like Factorio, right? Would enjoy these.
Yes.
Like,
God, you just said my sex word. Thank you.
There you go.
Oh, God.
Factorio is probably the greatest game that's ever been made. It's perfect. I will say, Ian, I didn't play any Factorio this week because I've been actually working this week and not being able to play. But I literally almost started playing RimWorld again this week because I was like, and I said, I can't play RimWorld because Ian will give me so much shit for not finishing Factorio. So I was like,
yeah, you got to finish it before the DLC comes out. And
I know, I want to. Yeah. And so I was like, okay, I'm sticking with Pokemon right now, not to mention the games I'm currently playing list in my Notion organizer is like 15, 20 games. But playing Pokemon right now when I'm on the couch, and then when I'm at the computer, it's Factorio, and that's that. I'm gonna beat it before that fucking DLC comes out.
You said beat it. How do you beat?
You launch a rocket. Is how you.
Okay.
Yeah, like you get to a spaceship and then you launch it. Yeah.
All right.
I just I'm stuck. I'm stuck at the oil, and I got my trains working, and now it's just like I gotta.
You're not that far.
I know. I gotta sit down and like. Just like put in some hours at my job in Factorio. What a nightmare. Okay, those are the games I've been playing. Frost, please tell me about the games you've been playing. What is Shim?
Shim or Skim? I'm not sure. It's a cutie little shadow platformer is how I would describe it. I think the prototype came out a while ago, but it just released where essentially you are the shadow of this character and you're sort of existing alongside. Think Peter Pan's shadow, right? And they're going through their life, they're going through breakups, they're having all this other stuff. But every now and again, he loses track of his shadow, you, and the only way to get back to him is by connecting to other shadows. And it's really cute, really quaint. I would say like it never opened up, right?
Hmm.
It starts off really
Okay.
well, and you're like, oh, this is a really nice prototype, really good exercise in these sort of mechanics. But it never branched off more than that, right? And so
Yep.
it kind of started losing me a bit near the end. But I still like, I don't know, I kind of I'm almost the kind of guy that goes, I like tech games, right? Where it's like it's just nice to see, and it would be nicer if you could get someone else to sort of branch this off and make it something bigger. But
Yep.
it's still a nice little concept to go for. And then the other one is Thank Goodness You're Here. I don't know if you guys have played it.
I,
It-
I'm not sure. I do want to play it at some point, but part of me wants to keep it for extra life so we can all kind of enjoy it together
Mhm.
in a group setting.
it is oh my god, it is probably one of the funnier games. It's a slap former, as I hear it referred to. It's got like
Hmm.
Matt Berry, from What We
Love
Do in the
it.
Shadows, right? Like
Hmm.
he's all over. It's so good. It's probably I want to say as far as the video game goes, one of the best comedy games that I've ever played. I feel like comedy is a little difficult to do in a video game because you have to have like the right setup, right? The right punchline, the pacing, all of it, and it just takes you through it. The only thing I had against it is like sometimes you feel you're going the wrong way, but like just keep
Mm.
going
Yeah.
in that direction over and over again. It was one of the funniest things. Very much on brand with my humor because I grew up on a lot of like Channel 4, BBC, right? So
Yep.
very well familiar with how they speak and all that and whatnot. But yeah, no, really tiny games. I'm a little, wouldn't say I'm burnt, but it's at the start of the year. I don't know if you recall, we had like Power World dropping, a lot of survival
Yeah.
crafters dropping out of nowhere. I'm dumping hundreds of hours into these games at the start. So right now, while things are kind of coasting, I just want these little tiny games, right?
Yep.
Like, I think the last, yeah, like 2, 3, 4 hours is fine. I think the last time I put double digit hours was Animal Well, and that was near like 40, 50 hours.
Hmm.
So,
Kyle played a
wow.
bunch of that. I still haven't. Ian, you haven't touched Animal Well, right?
No, my problem is kind of like you, Frost. I have an eye on a lot of different indies, but the problem is there's too many of them. So I kind of have analysis paralysis right now where I'm not sure which ones to play. And I'm like, oh, I should play this on my Switch, but I've got a travel coming up. So I'll wait on that one. And I'm like, oh, maybe I'll play this one now. Oh, but then I don't want to. And so now I have like
Yeah.
10 indies that are apparently all bangers, Animal Well included, that I can't pick which one to play. So I'm not. Well, I did end up starting one of them this year
I
or
am
this week.
I'm the worst for that because the excitement is finding the good game, right? If a game
Yeah.
comes through and everyone says this one's amazing, I'm like, cool, I'll put it on the shelf for a day where I feel like not sifting, right? Like I
Yeah.
know it's gonna be good, so I'll play it then, and that irritates people from time to time.
Yeah. And honestly, I think the problem is all these indies look great, but none of them are the type of game I want to play right now.
Mm,
And that happens to me a lot. And right now, the type of game I want to play is Factorio / City Builder.
there you
And
go.
I've played Factorio through like 3 or 4 times now, so I'm waiting for the DLC. So I'm like, do I pick up another Factorio? Like I was reading through Steam reviews the other day, and one of them was like, "This is like Factorio but with programming," and I was like, oh, and then I was like,
Oh,
oh, but it's early access. I know this
uh,
game's gonna be great, so I'll wait for it to come out. And so now I'm just like, which Factorio like do I play? So I'm in a fucked up spot right now with video games.
what's even like what's the number two to Factorio in that genre?
Satisfactory, probably.
Oh,
Satisfactory. What's the three then? Because I knew that one, and not. Then they're coming out with like a candy based Satisfactory type thing. So what would
oh,
be the number three then?
I'm not sure because there's a lot of clones, and the clones are just very similar to each other.
Okay,
Dyson
I feel like
Sphere.
they know the genre.
Oh, I'm
Um,
sorry. Yeah, I would put Dyson Sphere.
okay.
I'm tempted to put Dyson Sphere above Factorio, and the reason why I say that is Dyson Sphere does this really cool thing where it's all about planetary systems. So you start on your planet, but at some point you unlock the ability to go to a different planet. So you can go to a planet that has a lot of one resource, set up all your factories for it over there, and then set up spaceships that are constantly ferrying the logistics and the supply back and forth.
Yeah.
So it lets you build like nodes across the solar system. And for me, that felt a little bit more rewarding in the end game than with Factorio. But I would say Dyson Sphere and Factorio are neck and neck. And then I don't know, I wasn't a huge fan of Satisfactory. Like, it does some stuff well, but it falls flat in other phases. But it probably is third because, like I said, after that, it's a lot of clones that are not doing anything necessarily new or unique, you know?
Yeah. Speaking of doing things new and unique, Ian Gibson, World of Goo 2, a sequel to what I assume is called World of Goo.
Yeah. Are you guys familiar with World of Goo?
I am familiar with the name, and I think I'm familiar with what the cover of the like DS game looks like.
Yeah.
I want to say I played the first one. If not, was this a Flash game before?
It was an indie game, but it came out in kind of that 360 indie darling phase. It was probably 2009, 2010, somewhere around there, maybe even earlier.
It's a little like Fantastic Contraption.
Yes, yeah. The best way to think of it is, it is a very it's a very stylized, artistic version of Bridge Constructor. So you're basically using these goo balls to build bridges and structures. So the idea is, you have a bunch of, it usually start with like a little square, right? And the square has 4 corners and each corner is a goo ball. And there's a bunch of goo balls hanging out on that square. And they're like, hey, you need to get to this pipe. Every level has a pipe. The pipe sucks up the goo balls. So they give you a bunch of goo balls, but when you click and drag the goo ball off the structure and then you remove your click off of it, it becomes a solid piece of the structure. So you're basically using these goo to build trusses to extend your structure out, whether it's a bridge or a tower or some other weird contraption to get to the pipe. But you can't use all your goo balls because once you place them, you typically can't pick them back up. So you've got to make sure you leave enough so that when you get to the pipe, a certain number of them go in the pipe, and that's how you finish the level.
Gotcha.
That's basically World of Goo. And you can see how it's kind of like Bridge Constructor in that it's a lot of like you're building triangular structures and trying to get through certain things. But it just has a really cool art style, has fantastic music, has a lot of creative puzzles. And World of Goo 2 so far seems like a true sequel. And what I mean by that is that it feels like World of Goo 1 is not necessarily a difficult game, but it starts very simple and then it gets difficult towards the end. And it feels like World of Goo 2 pretty quickly picks up off that difficulty of World of Goo 1. And they're introducing a lot of different goo balls, etc. Types of goo. I don't know what the proper nomenclature there is. But yeah, but it's great. It feels like a true sequel, which is crazy because this game is, like I said, I don't know, 13, 14 years later, something like that. It feels like a true sequel in that it is building off of what was done before, but it's still giving you more of the same. It's giving you the same style, the same music, the same it's from the Tomorrow Corporation, who does a lot of I'm sorry, I think Tomorrow Corporation is the name of one of their previous games, but their art style is very recognizable. They have like a cartoonish art style and sense of humor. And it's great to just pick up a game and be like, I loved this game 14 years ago, and they made a sequel, and it's more the same. So I'm about 40% of the way through. I would say if you're thinking about playing it, if you never played the first one, I would definitely say play the first one. The first one's pretty quick. You can get it done in like 3 or 4 hours. I think there's a bundle out there with 1 and 2 for pretty cheap. And the main reason why I say that is it does feel like 2 builds on the first one. So you won't be stuck if you try and start with 2. But I think your experience would be a lot better served if you go through 1 and go, oh shit, World of Goo is really cool. Oh man, now there's a whole bunch more and a lot crazier on top of it. You may miss that element of World of Goo 2 if you haven't played the first one previously.
Okay.
Gotcha. World of Goo. Gross.
The other game I'm playing, look, I was not aware of this game at all. I was on YouTube. I saw a random video on it, started watching the video, and I was like, the video was like, hey, this game's now out. It's 1.0. We're going to show it off a little bit and show you how to play it. And I started watching it and I was like, this looks like a fucking Will and Ian game. And I was tempted to hit you up, Will, and be like, hey, we need to do a stream of this game. I'm not going to tell you what it is. I'm going to be playing it and you're going to love it. Like, we're going to do a stream, right? Mm-hmm. And then I was like, I should probably try it first. And I bought the game and I've been playing it. And it's got problems. So folks, I'm talking about U-Boat, which is basically a German World War II submarine game, a lot like, did you guys ever play the Silent Hunter games from like, was that like 15, 20 years ago? Like Silent Hunter 1, 2, 3?
Maybe. It sounds very familiar.
They're really good. I played a lot of Silent Hunter 3 in college. But this is very similar to that. So you are, like I said, you're playing a German submarine crew. You're heading out into the North Sea or the Channel or the North Atlantic and trying to sink freighters and avoid destroyers. So you control a crew. Will, I had to look this up to be sure. This is not U-Boot, the video game, because apparently that never came out. So U-Boot, sorry, we're going a little bit deep here, but the reason why I bring it up is we had one of our first Pixel 8 episodes. I don't even think it was Pixel 8 at that time, but we went to a PAX East. We found this board game that had a big, elaborate cardboard submarine model. And we were like, let's sit down and play this. And it was a really cool experience. And that game was called U-Boot, which is German for U-Boat, basically. And we really enjoyed it. Will has since purchased the game. We played it a couple times. It's fun. They were like, hey, we're going to make a video game of this. And I think that video game listing is still on Steam, but I think the website is gone and that game never materialized. But U-Boat is a lot like that because you have a crew. You're having to maintain the crew on your ship. So some of them are freaking out. I turn these difficulty settings off, but you can even go so far as like, hey, this person is first shift, this person's second shift, this person's better at cooking food, so they're going to be in charge of the meals. And you do have to micromanage a little bit where you're like, oh, I need to send a radio message, so I need one of my officers with the radio skill to be on the radio headset, you know? So part of it is a little bit of like micromanaging sims on the sub to make sure stations are covered at proper times. The rest of it is kind of like a Silent Hunter-esque thing where you are out in the middle of the ocean and you're like hearing radio signals or getting reports of freighters at certain locations, and so you have to like pull up the map and you have to like plot charts to get to that location. And when you get there, you know, you like hop on the binoculars and you spot the boat. And I turned the difficulty settings up, so I see the boat and it's like I don't know their direction. I don't know what type of boat it is. I don't know their speed. I don't know what the fuck they're doing. So I have to like literally use all these tools where like I flip open a book and I flip through the pages to identify what type of ship it is. And that tells me how long it is. And then I use my periscope to like sit still and record with a stopwatch how long it takes it to cross my periscope. And that tells me based on the beam of the ship, how fast it's been going. And then I'm like, so I'm having to like literally use those to then line up a shot and manually input like the bearing, the course, the speed, the all these values into the torpedo controller to then fire the torpedo. Like it's not automatically locking on at this difficulty level. And it feels really good when I get that hit, you know, because I'm having to learn how to work a fucking German submarine and the torpedo computer. And it's wild. It's a lot of fun. Like, Will, I feel like that was the most fun part of U-Boot, the board game, was plotting stuff on the map, right?
Yeah, because there's a game part of that board game, which is like the periscope. It's like an app, so it's like the periscope and everything. And we plotted in the last time we played it, we plotted in the like correct thing, and we just watched it go off and then hit the like cruiser. Yeah. It felt really good.
Yeah, like you got a little protractor and a ruler, and you're charting on the map, and you do the same thing in this game. I've since stopped playing this game, and here's why. It's kind of borked. It only has a campaign mode. When you start the campaign mode, you can pick one of these 3 or 4 different campaigns based on difficulty, etc. I've had to restart the campaign 5 times now. Wow. And the reason why is because each of those campaigns ended pretty quickly in a bug. So most of them were around fuel, where they're like, hey, your mission is go out here, do 1,000 kilometers in this square, and then come back to port. And it's like, okay. And I go do that, and then I run out of fuel halfway there, or like halfway back. And it's like, okay, well, they must have wanted me to refuel at some point. And I try and do it again, And it's like, well, there's not really a port in range for me to refuel at. And I'm like, okay, well, let me get on the radio and request a resupply. And they're like, nope, go to port. So now I'm stuck. My campaign save is stuck on a boat that's out of fuel. I can't get any fuel to it. There's no way to like quick travel back to the port or like restart that mission. So I just exit back to the main menu and I start a new campaign, right? And then there was another one where they do a little bit of auto pathing and auto coursing, which is nice. So for example, I think it was Kiel, Kiel, which is a port in I want to say the Netherlands or something like that. And anyways, in order to get from there to the North Sea, you have to go through a canal. But what's nice is that when you're in the port, if you just zoom out on the map and you like right click on the North Sea, it won't just draw a straight line across the land. It'll automatically plot a route through the canal. Like it'll be like, hey, here's the shortest route, right? So I'm like, cool. I do that. I set my speed to like 11 knots. And then I'm like, put the time at 12x. And then it's like, damage. I'm like, what the fuck do you mean damage? And I look in and the fucking auto course had me banging into the walls of the canal. Like, so then the only way I can go through this canal, which is like, I don't know, if it takes me like 12 minutes to traverse this canal, even with some time stretching, because I'm having to manually plot every fucking turn, because if I do the auto plot with the game, it's not good enough and it bangs me into the walls and damages the boat and gets me stuck. And I'm like, what the fuck are you doing here? And I was like, and again, when you're hunting, when you're taking out the freighters, when you're plotting on the map, it's so good. So I'm like, all right, I'm gonna do this a third time. I'm gonna start a new campaign for the third time. Maybe that was my fault. And the last time that happened was I was getting radio reports of a freighter from other subs, and I had to like plot like, okay, he's here, he's going this fast, in 12 hours he'll probably be here, and I had to go like figure out his course and intercept him, which is hard in the middle of the giant fucking North Sea. And I got there and I was like, nice, and I lined up the shot with him, and I tracked him for like 6 hours, like chased him down, lined up the shot, got the torpedo, sank the boat, and I was like, fuck yeah. And I come up on the wreckage and I park like 300 meters off the wreckage, and I like pick up survivors, I pick up supplies, and I'm like, fuck yeah, I'm so cool. And then I zoom out and I'm like, all right, boys, let's go over here. And I right click and the boat starts moving, and then it goes damage. And I go and I zoom in. I'm like, when I had right clicked over there to set the auto course, my boat with the auto pathing in the game was just like, yeah, sure, we're going to drive right over the boat that just sank. And so the bottom of my sub scraped along the boat that sank because that's where the auto pathing put me. And now I'm damaged. The radio's damaged. The engines are dead. And I'm like, and the radio's dead. So I can't fucking contact anybody. I can't do anything. I can't back out of the mission. So I'm like, I'm going to have to start another fucking campaign. And it's infuriating because I think the one thing that would make me still play this, even with those issues, is something that Silent Hunter did, which was they had the campaign, but they also had like 10 out of the box scenarios where they're like, hey, this scenario is it's late war. You're like one of 2 U-boats left, and there's like a shitload of destroyers around you. And it's like, cool, drop me in, let me play immediately, right? I don't need to do the full port to port experience. This game doesn't fucking have that. And again, it's a 1.0 launch. They were in early access for a while. It doesn't have this. All it has is this fucking broken ass campaign. And it's pissing me off because the plotting is cool, the shooting the torpedoes is cool, the little like walk around your sub and look at the guys is cool, but you can't play the fucking game. Pisses me off.
Maybe you shouldn't damage your submarine. Like,
maybe. It's one of these games. You know, I'm looking through the reviews, and it's like 200 hours played. I want to like this game, I really do, but the devs created an exercise in frustration. 130 hours. Honestly, this game's almost unplayable. I love games like that. Where it's like there's something there. Yeah. Even the people who hate it, they have 100 hours in it.
And I saw those reviews and I was willing to take the risk because I watched like 25 minutes of that YouTube video and I was like, he's plotting on the map. Like it's not telling him where it is. Like he's having to figure out based on radio contacts and time and distance and bearing where this boat is. And I was like, oh my God, I got to play this game. This sounds amazing. And that part's great, but they're right. There's too many frustrating points in the game for it to be enjoyable.
Yeah, that stinks. I'm glad. I'm still hurt that you didn't do the stream, but I'm glad it kind of worked out that way.
I'm pretty sure I still own Silent Hunter 3 on GOG. So we just need to order some U-boat outfits Make up a stream overlay.
Some U-boat outfits.
Yeah, I already
some
got my
German
I already got my
World War I
SS
outfits, is that
uniform.
what you're saying?
You know, honestly, yeah, but the cool ones where it's like the sailor's cap and the wool sweater.
Sure.
Yeah, no emblems. No
There's a little
emblems, no
Hugo
insignia.
Boss, you know.
I don't take those out on stream, okay?
Man, I have my dad had a collection. Every time I go to visit, he gives me more books, and he had a collection of like in the I don't know if it's 60s or 70s. They had like you sign up to order like here's the issue on all the German weapons in World War II. Here's the little and they're like these little books, and he had one on all the uniforms of Nazi Germany, and so I have the book, and it's literally like just like model like fancy clothes like what is that called fashion drawings of like all the outfits and everything. I'm like, this is the coolest worst thing I have because it's like so awesome to look at because they're so well designed and you're like man, it sucks, but
that's what women want. Fascists.
we were we've said this before. We're like, we don't agree with the ideology at all, but god damn did they have good fashion for their uniforms. They had
They're
the drip.
evil.
Yeah, exactly.
But the drip.
God damn that drip.
Damn it.
Yeah.
If only they didn't. Yeah. Awkward holidays now. Anyways, those are the games we've been playing this week, folks. If you would like to play a video game, simply do it. You know, it's not that hard. Moving on, Ian Gibson collects the news. He processes it in his news gland, regurgitates it, and delivers it here. It's the most incredible thing. You'll hate it when you see it live, but he thankfully does that pre-stream. Ian Gibson, what is the news this week? Please tell me.
Let's start with the biggie, the honker, the big old list of games. Gamescom opening night live was this past Tuesday. Frost, did you get a chance to see this or see some of the announcements out of this?
I've seen some of them. Borderlands 4, right? Big shout out there. Goat Simulator remastering, Black Ops as well. Like, yeah, I've seen a few. Not as many as I would have liked, but yeah.
Yeah, let's talk about which ones stood out to you that you want to talk about.
My goodness. I mean, the one I think I've been waiting for the longest is Path of Exile 2, right?
Oh, I'm excited for this because before Diablo 4, or no, I want to say Diablo 4 came out. We played it, didn't like it, and then we were like, I was like, it's time to finally try Path of Exile, and it was good, but it was one of those things where I felt like I was coming in too late to the game, and I was like, I'm just gonna wait for Path of Exile 2. So exactly. I'm excited about this.
I get like halfway through Act 1, and then I'm like, oh, I feel like I'm so behind, right? And also for I guess the beef between Path of Exile and Diablo, it was like around the time Diablo 3 came through, that upset some of the crowd that prefer the Diablo 2 style, and then this little schism between Diablo 3 or Path of Exile. And then Diablo 4 comes through, and I felt like, okay, this is the first time where you're almost acknowledging Path of Exile kind of did it better. And you were the one that's copying them. And now I want to see what they can do with Path of Exile 2, where I'm like, okay, yeah, this is probably where I'm just going to jump on there and go. Because I like experimenting. I like trying other games. I've played so many ARPGs, right? Path of Exile 1 and 2 feel like those are the ones you're going to settle down with. And I'm not ready to get married to an ARPG just yet.
Will any of these games jump out at you?
I didn't. Well, the Goat Simulator remastered trailer was really, really great. Karen and I played through Goat Simulator 3 and had a blast. We started the DLC. We haven't finished it, and that's super fun. So I'm excited for this because I feel like, however silly and stupid Goat Simulator is, like, or you might think it is, those devs make really fun and good games and content. And so I'm genuinely excited for that. Awesome. It looks like fun. I also didn't realize I was watching it, but apparently I wasn't watching it close enough because I didn't realize they showed a trailer for the new Dark Pictures Directive 8020, which I must have missed at some point, which is the new supermassive, movie game, fun interactive game.
Is that the one that's the thing in space?
Yes. Oh, maybe I did see that trailer. I don't remember. I'm looking at the screenshot of it here, and I literally don't remember this. So,
it's good. It's good marketing.
Yeah, apparently.
Doesn't clutter the brain.
Yeah, the one I feel conflicted about, but I feel like giving the benefit of the doubt is, Dune Awakening, which is the upcoming Dune MMO. What are you guys' thoughts on this one?
Wait, it's an MMO now. I thought it was a survival crafter.
I think it's a survival crafter MMO.
Oh no.
Like Rust in a way. But I think more structure than Rust.
Why'd they make worms look different?
Right, yeah. I think the survival crafting genre in general, at least this year, has had a bit of a renaissance, right? Because I've been playing survival crafters for at least the past 10 years or whatever. Like early access on Steam was practically founded on those things, right? And yeah, the state at which they release now is just years ahead of where all the other ones have been releasing, to the point where they only stay in early access for like 2 years. Like what was it? The Forest, that was in early access for don't know how long, but Sons of the Forest comes through and finishes it off almost instantly by comparison, right? So they could probably come in really hot if they at any point in time though approach anything under the standard that we've been getting. Like that's not a good call. So.
Yeah, honestly, I can't remember if they said if this is coming to early access or if it's a full launch, because what they've shown so far feels like a lot for what would be an early access game. They may be shooting for a full release here.
My only concern is, there's only so much you can do in this sand.
Yeah, so that's why I feel conflicted, because I like Dune. People saying, hey, they're bringing out a Dune game and it's a survival crafter MMO is like, okay, that's a bunch of buzzwords. Somebody's making a money grab here. But then people have played this game. I remember reading an article a month or two ago where a journalist had played the game and they basically said, hey, guys, I don't know what happened, but this is actually really good. And so now I'm looking through the lens of, I'm giving them the benefit of the doubt in all these trailers, and I see some of the stuff like the exploration, the ornithopter, the building, and I'm like, maybe this is good. So I'm cautiously optimistic about this. How do you feel, Will?
Yeah, I'm the same. It looks like well put together. It really reminds me of the Conan Exiles game. It really looks like that. And I really enjoyed that game, especially the slavery part of that game is just so much. No, it was a weird part of that game, but also you could just be naked all the time. The game is wild and good and plays really well. So it kind of gave me that same sort of feeling looking at this game. So I think it could be fun. I don't know how they're handling the MMO part of it. I don't know how some of that stuff blends together, or if you could have like a private server. Like when I think MMO, I think I'm forced to play on a server with a bunch of people, like huge server World of Warcraft. Not like, and when I think of just a survival crafter that has a server that I can spool up, I think of like that being a little bit different. But I agree also with Frost. I feel like it has a lot to live up to. As we played this year, we played Enshrouded, which was okay. It was very well polished. Okay, I think we would say, Ian. And then we also played Planet Crafter, which is still in early access, which is a fantastic fucking game.
No, I think that went 1.0.
Yeah, that's what it was. It went 1.0. They're adding a truck to it. I saw in the latest devlog.
That was a great game.
Yeah, Planet Crafter, fantastic video game. So they have I feel like there's been some incredible recent examples of some and even going back to like Valheim a couple years ago, like there have been some stellar survival crafting games. So I really hope they add something new to the mix and don't just be like, here's your ornithopter, here's a worm, here's
you need some kind of gimmick, right?
Here's a tent. And I know they changed the thing because this game has guns, so they changed the like lore thing of shooting shields doesn't cause thermonuclear reactions, like in the books and movies. So I think that's a neat change, because I feel like you need some sort of weapon that is ranged, that isn't like bow and arrows, because it kind of doesn't make sense, So it looks cool, but we'll see.
Yeah, I'm excited about that one. Civilization 7, gentlemen, you guys fans of the Civ series?
Hell yeah.
Yeah, I'm most excited because this means Civ 6 is going on sale. You know.
Oh yeah, yeah, that's true.
That's my biggest like. Oh, it's $5. Cool, grabbing it. You know.
Yep, yeah, and all the
That is a
DLC
big
and the
Steam
content
sale
packs.
treat. Absolutely, absolutely.
So let me give you PC Gamer. So there was the presentation on Civ 7. I believe there was also like a 25 minute video they put up. There's a PC Gamer article as well with somebody who got hands on with the game and played 3 or 4 hours of it. That's what I read was the PC Gamer take. Let me kind of go through some of the big stuff they've got going on here, different from previous games. First of all, there's only 3 ages this time. There's not like the 7 or 8 there were previously. You can also change your civilization at each age. So you stay the same ruler, I believe, but you can change your civilization. And they actually had a really good explanation for that, where they were like for example, if you think of Italy, right? They started as Roman, and then they became like Renaissance, and then they had a fascist period. So your civilization does kind of change, even though you may have
Can't wait to get to my
ruler.
fascist period.
Yeah. Ooh, Mussolini.
Yeah. So and it lets you mix and match your civilization and your leader, which before they were kind of in lockstep with each other. The other thing is workers are gone. They talked about how you no longer need workers to build on tiles and build improvements and stuff. That when you unlock a new tile, you get to pick which tile you want to get. When your city grows, you unlock a tile, you pick which tile or tiles you want to get, and then when you get the tile, an improvement is automatically made on it. I don't know if there was a selection with that as well. So you're no longer having to micromanage the workers. They also talked about how rivers are navigable now. So they're not just kind of a barrier or an annoyance. They're actually like an automatic natural road for you to go up and down. You have a lot more freedom with how you place your city tiles and place your districts in a way. And you can put walls around certain districts. So the person playing talked about how they made like a long, skinny city along the river instead of kind of a generic city sprawl that usually happens in Civ games. So yeah, there's actually a lot of changes here, enough that normally if I play Civ games at launch, like Civ 5 and Civ 6, it's like, oh, they made a new one, but it's missing all the content and stuff from the last one. So I'm going to play the last one until they add all that into the new one. But this one actually kind of feels like they've made a lot of significant changes at the start, that it may have a good foundation and be worth playing day one. What do you guys think? How do those changes sound to you?
See, I tell you, I believe my favorite was Civilization Revolutions, which, if I'm correct, is sort of like baby's first Civ game. It's the
still
more
Civ
watered
game, though.
down, way more accessible, and all the other ones just sort of blow my mind. But it sounds like you're saying this is more like streamlined in a way, and that kind of does sound appealing. I'll be honest. Who's the narrator by chance? Because the last one was Sean Bean, so you've got some competition there.
Isn't it Gwendolyn Christie or whatever her name is?
It is Gwendolyn Christie. I thought they were going to announce it in the show, and then they didn't say it, and so I had to look it up today when I saw the Civ 6 or 7 thing, and I genuinely thought that was a pretty good pick. She's got a good voice. It's still like, I still think 5 is my favorite, which is, I can't think of his name, but he's in a ton of movies, and a bunch of Star Trek TNG episodes. And then Sean Bean was good.
Guess who also is coming back for this?
Gandhi.
Christopher Tin, who made the Grammy-winning theme song to Civ 4, Baba Yetu, which, if I may give you rendition, is the one that goes Baba Yeto Yeto Yeto, Baba Yeto Yeto Yeto. It's that song's incredible. So I'm ready for his new theme song. It's going to be amazing.
There's a lot of 5 ones that I like. England's soundtrack is really good. It mixes in like the planets. It's very, very good. I'm excited for this. I think everything looks good. All the changes look fun. Apparently, if you pre-order, you can get Napoleon. So your boy is gonna be pre-ordering. Old Emperor, and also Benjamin
it also
Franklin.
comes out. Yeah, also comes out February 11th, which is pretty close. So that's good to hear as well.
Before Valentine's Day.
So we've got some other games here. We got some more details on. Well, we had the announcement of the previously leaked secret level, which is the what is it? Love and Robots creator who is making a video game anthology based on various IP, including Mega Man, Armored Core, God of War, etc. We've got Masters of Albion. They brought fucking Peter Molyneux on stage and let him announce a new game. You know what? I'm sorry. I'm trying to rush this. Let's pause right there. Will, was this fucking wild or what?
I couldn't believe it.
Who's let that man near a microphone?
Infamous liar. Peter Molyneux was allowed on stage.
Him and Tom Howard should make a game. Or Tim Howard.
Him and Sean Murray.
Todd Howard?
Todd Howard. There
Todd
we go.
Howard's not a liar, though.
Todd delivers. Yeah, Todd delivers.
Yeah, Todd
Sean
delivers.
Murray and Peter Molyneux together would make the greatest game that they could never deliver on.
You know, the crazy thing is, so he showed this off, and it's got some black and white. It's a bit of a city builder. You control a hand, but you can also go in and set recipes. So I think one of the things he said was like, it was a shop that makes swords, and he said make swords with bread, and then they made bread swords and they didn't work out too well. So it's one of those things where it's like the guy can kind of still cook, but it's not necessarily a Michelin star meal that comes out of it, right? It's because the game also looked like a fucking mobile game, right? It looked a little bit paper thin.
It looked like a video game you see in the like documentary about a hit video game. Like, this was the first version. Look what it looked like. Like, ha ha ha. Like, look how simple it looks. And that's what they showed. And I'm like, part of me is like, are you just looking for investors right now? Like, showing this off? Because again, all the systems and stuff looked fun and like quirky and like in a weird way, and the way everything meshed. Even with that, like zooming in down to your character to like fight with them, I was like, that's a great idea. But it just looks so like first step in making a video game as far as putting it together.
What did you think, Frost?
I don't know. He's still on his like I can do like the making the do anything game. Right?
Yeah,
but it's just I don't know. I figured by now he'd actually be happy and deliver, because of the tech that we have now. He could deliver on all the old promises that he made, but he still chooses to make bread swords instead. You know,
I feel like he's burned so many bridges now that he can't get investors in. He can't build a good team around him, and that's why what we're seeing now is a team that's not that skilled making his literal design. When what you need is a very skilled team to interpret his design and turn it into an actual playable game with depth.
Someone who can say no. Right? Someone who's like, let's take that that eccentric nature of yours and actually make something that's fun and playable.
Let's not use Albion. Let's just not do it.
Mafia, the Old Country, also got announced. Are you guys Mafia fans?
I've been meaning to. It's again one of those where everyone tells me it's good, so I'm like, okay, cool. I'll hold on to it for a day where I don't have to look through things. So
And they just came out with the Mafia 1 and 2 remaster. They're just like really good GTA-esque games. Like, it's not quite as fully fleshed as City and as fully branching with a lot of stuff to do as GTA, but it feels like a linear game set in a city that is alive and has things going on, if that makes sense. And they usually tell a good story. Mafia 3 I wasn't a big fan of. That had some problems with the gameplay, but it was actually telling a good story. For the part that I did play, but this is the Old Country. It's going to take place, I believe, in Sicily. It's the previous ones have taken place in America, but this is going to be in Sicily, early 1900s. It sounds like kind of the birth of the mafiosa. So this could be exciting. Speaking of exciting, Indiana Jones and the Great Circle. This is looking better and better, right? How you feeling, Will? I know you're a big indie fan.
I'm a huge indie fan. I love indie games and Indiana Jones. I think it I don't think it looks good at all, and I think it's not going to be fun or anything, but I can't wait to be pleasantly surprised by that. But I refuse to get any sort of excitement over Indiana Jones. I can't get it up for Indiana Jones. I don't want to get it up for Indiana Jones.
You're playing it, but it's going to be trash. So.
Yeah, listen, did I recently rewatch all of them on VHS? Yes. But are the other movies dog shit, and have I not seen Dial of Destiny? Also, yes. So, I'm looking forward to it. The more I talk it out right now in this therapy session, I really do like Indiana Jones Emperor's Tomb. I think that game's fantastic. And then Fate of Atlantis is pretty good as well, even though I've never truly beaten it. I've played the first level a couple times. And as someone who's read several Indiana Jones expanded novels, they really get into the nitty-gritty of how much he has sex. So, overall, looking forward to it. I hope there is a moment akin to my naked pregnant wife shooting guns over my head in a bathtub, like in Wolfenstein 2. But somehow I don't think that's going to happen. But if it could...
Maybe.
Now that I'm thinking about it, there's totally going to be a like Fate of Atlantis Easter egg because it's machine games and you're going to like go to sleep or something and then it'll like you'll be in Fate of Atlantis. Anyways, because they did that Wolfenstein 1.
Yeah. What about you, Frost? Are you looking forward to this?
Looking forward to playing it, yes, but I'm very much with Will here where I'm like, I don't know what I'm going to get out of this thing. It looks like an old Wii game, if I'm being honest.
Yeah.
But I'm like, you know what? Why not? And Troy Baker is doing really good stuff here with his best indie impression. I'm like, all right, you know what? You got it.
You're right.
I give you that.
And I was really confused when this trailer happened because it was just Troy Baker talking. And I was just like, man, his Indiana Jones is way worse than I remembered it being because it was just his normal voice. And then I was like, oh, it's just him talking.
Oh, and then he turned it on. Gotcha.
His indie voice in that original trailer honestly isn't half bad. So
yeah. I one of the things, the new trailer, like you're saying, I don't think this game particularly shows well. There's something a little off on like the animations and the graphics that has a little bit of a weird look to it. But there were some press that got their hands on and they said, hey, there's a lot of really cool puzzle and stealth and non-combat elements in this game. And that has me excited because my biggest gripe with the Wolfenstein games, the newest ones, was the combat. The combat got a little bit boring, a little bit stale, but everything else around it was a lot of fun and really cool. So I'm excited to see this. I'm with you guys. I'll play it. I don't know how it's going to be, but it's nice to see them come out with a trailer that is showing off a little bit more of what the game's actually going to feel like.
PlayStation 5. Get excited.
Yeah. That's the other part. So this was teased. This was not teased. This was rumored and then announced at Gamescom. So Indiana Jones and the Great Circle is coming out in December of this year. And then spring 2025, it is coming to the PS5. I'm not sure how to feel about this. Who wants to take it?
It's a bold strategy, Cotton. I hope it works out for him. Doing this and releasing it there, I would have. Starfield's not on PS5, right?
No.
I feel like I would have done that first, but I guess Starfield's bad, and people who own a PlayStation probably know that. So maybe that wouldn't be as sly as I think it is. Xbox hasn't struck me that they're in the spot to want to do that. I guess.
To want to do Starfield?
To want to do Indiana Jones, The Great Circle on PlayStation 5. Like, it doesn't...
Yeah, there's a little bit of a rumors that internally the Xbox division and Microsoft is feeling pressured to show some profits. And part of that is upper executives within Microsoft saying, what is this exclusivity bullshit? You have customers sitting right there. Just sell them the software, So so part of it is like that does kind of make sense. I mean, we've got an article in the business section about how Sea of Thieves has sold over 1 million copies on PS5, which is wild because that game has been out for a long time on Xbox and PC, and then it came out on PS5 recently, and it's a great game and it sells. There's a lot more PS5 gamers than there are Xbox gamers at this point in time. I think where I'm starting to struggle with is why would you announce this right now? I think Sony has the right strategy with their Sony to PC, which is or PS5 to PC. They don't announce that it's coming to the PC immediately. They let the game come out on PS5. It's a PS5 exclusive. They wait a year and then they say, okay, now we're going to put it on PC. So for that first year, if you're hyped about the game, if you're excited about the game, and that entire first year, you think your only option is PS5. So you go out and buy a PS5 or you buy a PS5 copy, right? But if I'm a PS5 person and I'm excited about Indiana Jones And I was saying, man, maybe I'll get an Xbox for that. Now I go, oh no, I'll just wait a couple months.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know why they would. I understand why they're doing this. I don't understand why they would announce it now before the game's even out on Xbox. I feel like they just undercut themselves some Xbox sales.
Yeah, because all the people who are gonna buy or pre-order it for the Xbox and hope to get an Xbox this Christmas or something like that are just gonna be like you said, oh, I'll just get it on PlayStation 5 then. Like, I don't need to give them a double sale, you know.
I don't know. I think right now they've got this weird long game where they are trying to sort of say like, come on, Sony, what's with these exclusives? You know, like we can be friends, and then sort of like just give them more of that. Because even the games that they are handing off to Sony are at their core the kind of games that you would expect to get with Sony, with their ecosystem, with the PlayStation Network and whatnot. Whereas Xbox is sort of buying those like big hitters that you would expect, like in a genre like survival crafters, and then there's the indie ones, there's the sports games, all in that Game Pass. I feel like they are just trying to sort of almost. I don't know if you guys watched Tetris. How when they're trying to get Tetris from Russia, they're going to this party and they're like, "We want jeans, we want Coca-Cola." That's kind of what Xbox is doing to PlayStation, where it's like, put the walls down, Mr. Gorbachev, tear down that wall. You know, like, we don't need any of that kind of stuff. And I think they are, I don't know, trying to goad them in a sense and trying to play it off. But same as you, they kind of are pressed to show profit. It's been a rough couple of years.
And I was thinking about it like that strategy of let's bring down the walls makes sense from a Microsoft perspective if you have the better hardware and you have the better cloud offering, right? But PlayStation Plus has come back, right? PlayStation Plus has a pretty good catalog now. Game Pass costs more money now. And so it is not as easy as, hey, the games you like, you can play on both consoles, but with Xbox, you also get really good cloud service and you get a really good, subscription service. You kind of get that on PlayStation now too, at a comparable price.
This is where I've got my tinfoil hat on, is because Xbox is also opening up to Steam, rumored, right? And and with that, I'm anticipating better integration with the Steam Deck. So now Xbox is essentially going to have a handheld as well, and that's where they're gunning for it, to the point where even Nintendo might have to consider something, right? Xbox didn't have a handheld before. Steam doesn't really have the best console. Right? I mean, the Steam Deck runs okay, but now you're pairing up with Xbox, so it's almost to the benefit of everyone again, in the same way that they got PlayStation to drop the wall for Fortnite, right? It's like, well, you can't miss out on this, right? So we'll see how that goes. I feel like it's not as lucrative. PlayStation almost can survive and just like, no, I don't want to play with you.
Yep, exactly. Yeah, and that's because they have a much larger install base and they have a stronger library right now. But that can change. That can change in a single generation, right? So maybe that's Microsoft's play. Is they're like, hey, we keep trying to win this on the standard rules. We keep trying to win this on the exclusives library front. It's not working, so we need to change the game where we're not so dependent on hardware. And like you're saying, it's really about selling that software and selling that subscription in as many places as once.
With like the changes in tech, it's gonna be a couple of years before we can have any like really good distance from how good our stuff works now. But you're still, even then, the better consoles, you're still competing with PC, right? The better the consoles get, the closer you're getting to just being a low end PC. I think Xbox's biggest mistake to me was that they tried to go, okay, we're done with improving hardware, let's go to cloud. They did that way too soon with the Xbox One, where they're like, online always, right?
Yeah,
they could have done it now and gotten away with that, but they just pulled that a little too soon. Now I think we're starting to get into that, like, okay, we're all going to online now. What you got?
Right. Yeah. So we'll have to see. It is exciting to see. This is not a normal generation in any way. It's a slow generation. We're almost 4 years into this generation, and it feels like there's barely any exclusives worthwhile of the generation.
Was it half of the Sony people are still on PlayStation 4? Right? There's like not much reason to move over.
Yeah. And they're coming out with the rumored PS5 Pro, and it's like, so it is exciting to at least see Microsoft take a completely different strategy. I don't know if that's going to work. how it's going to come out of
I
it.
think it's
But
smarter. I wouldn't say, I don't know if it wins you it, but if it's your only move,
yeah,
like instead of they even said that they lost the culture, they lost the hardware. Best thing to do is like, all right, next battle. We'll go to Cloud.
let's change the whole game.
Yeah.
Two other games did get announced this week. One is the Backyard Sports franchise from our youth. It's relaunching video games, films, and more. We talked about this a little bit last week because there was an intrepid amateur TikTok reporter who was kind of exposing the teases here. But they talked about multiple verticals across film, television, merchandise, games, and more. I know Will is familiar with Backyard Sports. Frost, are you familiar with Backyard Sports?
Oh yeah. Who's the boy? Pablo?
Yeah.
Oh, Pablo, he was busted. Yeah, I love it.
Yeah, Pablo Sanchez. Yeah.
Yeah, soccer. And I didn't play the football one and the baseball one. I think those are the two I played.
Yeah. I was too poor, so I think I only played the baseball one at like a friend's house or something. But I'm trying to think what do we want out of this? And I'll go first. I'm trying to think of an analog for this. I think it's like something like Super RBI baseball, where it's like, hey, lean into the cartoon, make it kind of look like the old games, but it's updated in a way. So it's 4K, but it's still a cartoony look, etc. And make the gameplay in such a way that it's something like Rocket League, where anybody can pick it up and play it, even a kid. But there is a depth of mechanics in there where, as an adult, as somebody who plays a lot of video games, I can sit down and be like, oh shit, there's actually a lot in here. Like if I do the curveball this way, and there's some strategy in here, like a very low skill floor, very high skill ceiling. Like that's what I want them to do with these games. What do you guys want? Either, yeah. What do you guys want out of either the games or the films and TV series?
I'm very much in line with you for the Backyard Sports. I if anything, I just kind of miss those arcade sports games because this comes right in the dust of them announcing. The creators of NBA Street 2 announced that they're making like another version of that, and I'm like, yeah, let's go back to more of that instead of just whatever Madden's got licensed, which I guess they lost a license to, which will be nice. I am just expecting nostalgia though. I don't know if it'll change anything. I think it will just mostly be nostalgia for the films and whatnot.
I would love. Sorry, Will. I know you've got something cooking, but man, I just had an idea. What if it's animated TV series? Pablo Sanchez. He's an adult, and it's like a BoJack Horseman / Cobra Kai series where it's like he was fucking king of the Sandlot, and now he's like 40 with like 4 kids and three different ex-wives, and it's just like life's falling apart for him, right?
That like Bad News Bears.
Yeah. Should lean into that. Was that your idea, Will?
Yeah,
Sorry,
it's literally word for word is what I was going to say. No, I'm just kind of worried that this Backyard Sports franchise to relaunch is just going to be shitty remasters of the video games and then like bad cash grab movie and TV show, whatever else they do. So prove me wrong, that'd be great. But part of me thinks like I'd love an HD 2D Backyard Sports game, or like part of me thinks they're not going to do like a shift to 3D or something. I don't know. I just imagine it not being good. So
I think HD 2D is the way to do it.
Yeah.
I would love a backyard sports free for all, which is just a Mario Party, but where the mini games are all slightly sports themed.
That's the other thing. Are they going to do like one game where you can play a bunch of different sports? Or are they going to sell all the different, like it's got to be like you're saying fully fledged out. Like I feel like the Backyard Sports games weren't that like
they kind of were. I mean, for then, they had a couple different parks. They had a roster,
But it wasn't the same as like getting a Madden game at the time. I feel like Madden.
Honestly, I think it was pretty close.
Yeah, for the time, yeah, because
so.
they would use the actual likeness of the real people. So
Yeah.
it kind of was.
And they didn't have like the truck stick or anything like that, so it's not like Madden had a whole bunch of extra mechanics on top.
True. Okay, I cede the rest of my time. Apologize.
Thank you. This last one is just for you, Will. There's a new Back to Roots Heroes of Might and Magic game that was announced, I think, today. Should we be excited?
It looks pretty good. I love Heroes of Might and Magic. It's one of my core video games. Heroes of Might and Magic 2 or 3. I'm pretty sure it's 2 though. No, it's 2. My mom got it. She used to fix computers for people, and this guy who went to the same church as us needed a fix me up for his computer. He kept putting his CDs, like stuffing CDs in the CD drive. That's what I remember. And he like bought this game for his son and gave it to me, and I still remember like looking through the manual and playing it a bunch. I am terrible at Heroes of Might and Magic. Absolutely terrible at it. I don't understand how strategy games work at all. And then recently there's been that kind of revamp, Songs of Conquest, which is it's almost like an HD 2D version of original Heroes of Might and Magic. Probably 3 is the most popular one of those. And then this kind of looks like back to that route of like original 2 and 3, doing this overlay map, and the like hexagon fighting and everything, spells. It looks cleaned up. They didn't quite go for the like pixel art still, which I feel like is what Songs of Conquest did. And they went for like this kind of, at least in these screenshots, really nice looking art style. And I'm genuinely looking forward to this. I still have all the modded stuff for 3, Heroes of Might and Magic 3, which is like like I said, is the like go-to retro version of these games. And I'm still terrible at it. But that doesn't stop me from watching 4-hour YouTube videos of people playing on the hardest difficulty. So I'm excited for this. Hilariously, Heroes of Might and Magic is the brand of Might and Magic that is focused on like big battles and everything, and then just Might and Magic is the one that is focused on the heroes, and is an RPG. So they got their names backwards, but at least they're fun games. Thanks for putting this in here, Ian. I hadn't actually seen this news.
Yeah, no problem. I keep forgetting. It's not that I forget that Gamescom is happening, but Gamescom is more than just opening night live. So there's trickles of announcements throughout the week, kind of like E3. That's it for the news. Sorry.
I was just gonna say there's a Heroes of Might and Magic board game, and it's been around for a while, and they're doing another Kickstarter, and I can't tell if like this is the same game or they're doing like a version of 3, but I've been wanting to get it, but I also keep telling myself I shouldn't just randomly back board game Kickstarters, because sometimes you get a Dark Souls the board game, but I kind of really want to do that, so it looks like fun. Anyways, sorry, not to interrupt the end of the news song that you were about to sing.
Yeah, I was just gonna sing. That's the news. There's the news. Happy news. All done news.
Wow, that was really good. We should have someone from another YouTube channel write a song for that. Funny. Very funny. Folks, Ian, you wishlist spotlight English I speak? Is this yours?
No, I think this is yours.
Okay, this is mine. I was having a crisis, and I couldn't remember if I put this here or not. And I think you moved it from the week I was away, right? Is that what you did?
Yeah, because you put it in here, so talk about your own shit, buddy.
This game is this is wishlist spotlight. It used to be a thing that we put into edited videos, but now we just talk about it here. We like to highlight. God, I'm losing it. It's time for bed. We'd like to spotlight indie devs, so you can go wishlist their games. Wishlisting on Steam elevates and boosts people's games, so they get more spotlight and more things to be seen. Anyways, this is Let's Build a Dungeon. It's manage a game studio making the world's greatest MMORPG. I'm remembering this now. Hire designers, coders, and testers, create a fantasy world, then welcome hundreds of virtual players. It looks really fun. It kind of reminds me of that Game Dev Tycoon. I really like the art style here. It really reminds me of, and I feel like I'm going to click on this and it's going to say, really reminds me of, Ian, what is that RPG game that you have the windows, and I played it, and you have to close out of the different windows. It's like an
Kingsway?
OS game. Kingsway. Yes, Kingsway. It looks kind of similar to Kingsway in that sort of. I don't think it's the same gimmick, but in that sort of art style, and I really like that art style. So looking forward to this. They kind of showed the generation in the where you're like making the MMO world and the villages and stuff. So having this next layer on that seems like a lot of fun. So I'm looking forward to it. Man, they're like showing them upgrading the servers and everything. It's so stupid. All these portraits are cool too. So go check that out. It's Let's Build a Dungeon. It is on Steam. Go wishlist that. Give them a wish list for the best list. Content call out. What was that, Frost?
Sequel. That's the sequel to Let's Build a Zoo, isn't it?
Oh, with Matt Damon.
Same style. Yeah, same style. Same
Scarlett
font
Johansson.
on that
Yeah.
one.
Yeah, we bought a zoo.
There you go. Let's build a zoo on. Doubt.
How did they not franchise that?
Right.
We bought a Costco. We bought a skyscraper.
The first game, Let's Build a Zoo. I don't know. I'm bad with strategy games and management games, but I love the beginning of them, where it's like super simple. How do I start? And here I go. Let's build a zoo. I remember I've spent hours and hours just in the beginning bit, not upgrading anything, with zoos that I would name like Wieners and Wabbits. All I did was have rabbits and hot dog kiosks. That's it. And I'm like, this one,
beautiful.
I'm gonna have like the most expensive hot dogs. I'm here just trying to find the perfect formula for the perfect Wieners and Wabbits.
It sounds like you beat the game, as far as I'm concerned.
Oh yeah, no.
You nailed it.
I am intimidated by these kind of games. Yeah.
Let's Build a Zoo looks good, except for the one part where it's about a zoo, and I don't give a flying fuck about a zoo. So I like at least be like Jurassic Park. Like,
I only do people zoos like Roller Coaster Tycoon.
What kind of people did you have in your people zoo?
Dead ones, pukey ones, crying ones, screaming children.
We love those.
Usuals.
Content call out. This is you now. Did you put this here?
This is me. Look,
this is us.
I've wanted to talk about this for weeks, but I kept it because you were I don't fucking know where you were. You just disappeared for weeks, man. But now that you're back, I need to talk about an hour and 41-minute YouTube video I called from Operator Drewski. Are you guys familiar with the YouTube creator Operator Drewski?
No.
He does a lot of milsim content, and the best way to describe his content is he plays a bunch of milsim games like Arma and various things like that with his buds on these private servers, and he does a really good job of it, like being somewhat humorous but also kind of telling a story as he's going through this. So this is called the Massive 24/7 PvP Vietnam War in Arma 3 parentheses movie. I think that last part is just for the fucking YouTube algorithm. But basically what this is it's a private Arma 3 server. And I'm going to try and explain it properly. But the way it's set up is that it's a 24/7 server, and the server is running a mod of the Vietnam War, and it has a condensed map of the Vietnam War, everything from like the rice paddies to the mountains to the jungle to Saigon. And it's human players in the map for the most part. So the US faction is all human players. I'm not sure how many there are. There's probably about 60 to 80 human players on the US Army faction. And on the Vietnam side, most of them are AI, but it appears that there's about 15 to 20 of them that are actually human players in the middle of the Vietnam AI, of the Vietnamese AI. So what you have is you have this server that's up 24/7. And as far as I could tell, it's actually following like real-time day-night cycles. So when it gets nighttime, it gets really dark. So there are like quiet periods. And the US is basically sweeping through this map and slowly trying to capture all these different objectives. And the whole time they're fighting against NPCs. And NPCs in Arma, they can be difficult because they can kind of cheat in a way. Like it feels like they spot you too easily from a distance and they hit you too easily. But they're also kind of dumb. They're not doing a lot of tactics. But this movie is Operator Drewski basically presenting his experience with him and his buddies pretending to be a Viet Cong, and they're doing things like setting up ambushes, and they don't have radios, so they're using whistles. So they'll be like, okay, we know the army's going to try and land on this beach. So here's the first defensive line, the second defensive line. If you hear one whistle, it means advance. Two whistles means retreat. and they're setting up all these like hasty ambushes. Like there's this really cool scene where they know there's a US Army platoon on this hilltop. So one squad of the Viet Cong go up, they engage the US military, and then they pull back through the jungle. And the whole platoon of the US Army, like 30 or 40 guys, comes running down the jungle into the valley. And what they don't realize is that there's a whole nother squad of Viet Cong waiting on the hillside on their flank. And they just come down and smash into them. And then the army, like they fight them for a little bit. They kill a bunch of army guys. Then they back up. And they're like, where'd they go? And all of a sudden artillery starts landing. Because that's the other thing. It's asymmetric warfare, right? So the US Army players, they can respawn as many times at their base. I mean, you still have to hike from the base back up to the battlefield. They have helicopters, they have artillery, etc. I mean, it's realistic, so it's not like they're going to call in immediately. Like they're having to call back to base and be like, oh, hey, call in the artillery, and the guys on the artillery are having to fire the pieces, etc. The Viet Cong have no helicopters. They have no artillery. I think they may have some mortars, and they get 3 respawns in a 24-hour period. So if you die 3 times,
wow,
you're locked out of the server for 24 hours. So it's this really cool movie of just like, hey, this is a really cool server. You know, we've been playing it for a week. I recorded the whole time. I'm going to kind of walk you through some of these stories. Like, just to give you a taste, there's this really good moment where after they try and defend the beach, they're doing a pretty good job at it, but the Americans eventually land on the beach and they start pushing through the land. The sun goes down and it becomes pitch fucking black. Like they can't see anything, and they lose sight of each other. So Operator Drewski like spots like a Viet Cong backpack. Like he just sees like the glint off the metal from the backpack, and he goes and like hooks up with them, and it's all proximity voice chat. So he's like whispering, he's like, hey. And he's like, yeah. And he's like, where are we? And he's like, I don't know. And he goes, I think the enemy's over there. So they start walking there, and they start seeing lights in the distance. And again, it's pitch black. And they start seeing like this little flash of light every now and then. And they slowly creep up on it. And they realize they've come across a bunch of US soldiers who are like digging trenches. And they turn their flashlight on for half a second to see where they are. Then they turn the flashlight off and they dig a trench. And so the 2 guys just kind of look at each other, and they don't say anything, because if they say anything, the US Army guys will hear them. And they just like creep up on the guys. They get within 5 feet of them, and they just dump magazines into this group of US soldiers in the middle of the dark, right? And it's just like a massacre. And then like 10 minutes later, one of the server mods like spawns himself in, and he's just like, hey, I just want to let you know you guys just killed 8 people. Like, oh my God. Like, it's incredible just the way he cuts this together and explains the tactics of like what's happening and why we're doing this, and the tension of it. It's fantastic. I've been watching a lot of his movies, but this one, the massive 24/7 PvP Vietnam War and Arma 3, is a really good intro. It's like I said, it's an hour 40, but you're just enthralled the whole time. It feels perfect how it goes from like humor to tension to tactics to humor and back again, etc. So highly recommend it.
Damn, that sounds awesome. I think the biggest thing I missed about being away is not continuing our Arma Reforger campaign, which has been super fun. Much better game than Arma 3, but I can't wait to play more of that. Folks, I'm going to hit the outro button. We're going to get the hell out of here because it's way past my bedtime. I should be asleep and dreaming of Sugar Plum Fairies. So here we go. Folks, subpixelfilms.com is where you can go and check out all of our beautiful content. That'll lead you to a plethora of places, including Ian's OnlyFans, our community Discord. You can go to our YouTube page, or you could go to our LinkedIn and make sure to post about how much you want to work for us. Joining this week was the one and only lovely Frost. Frost, where can people find you on the internet?
Anything and anywhere, just type in the other Frost, the Twitter, LinkedIn, Facebook. I got all of them. OnlyFans. Instagram's the only one I didn't get, but I don't really use it. So.
Gosh.
So.
Don't go to Instagram,
I offered the guy
folks.
money. Yeah, I offered the guy money, but I think it's a dead account, so now I'm just waiting it out.
We offered the guy money, or we asked the guy for subpixel.com, and he wanted $50,000, and we said no, thank you. Folks, we'll be back tomorrow. Ian's playing Fallout New Vegas. Bye.
Bye.